Hey everybody, today we are talking about Clans of Caledonia from Juma. Never get Al Juju. I'm gonna go. That's the best I can do with his name. This is currently on Kickstarter. It's in the final push. If you like Terra Mystica, but you can never get it to the table because it's either you don't like the theme or you don't have 3 hours, this is going to be something that you're going to want to check out. So in Clans, you are taking over a clan in Scotland, and you're trying to outproduce and maneuver everyone else. This has some really cool elements, so I'm going to dive into some of these and let you guys take a look. I currently have a two-player game set up here. And this is what the player boards look like. So you'd have your clan, and there's 8 of them to choose from. They're all asymmetrical. And then you've got all of the stuff that you can use to produce. So you've got sheep, cows, cheese, bread, wheat, barrels of whiskey, lumberjacks, and miners. Down here you've got merchants, you've got a nautical naval situation, and some upgrade. You got money, a big pile of really cool resources. One of the really cool things is he's got all of the individual resources customized. So you got barrels, and everything looks like, the cows look like cows and things like that. It's really cool. And so, as in some games like a Terra Mystica, as you place things on the board, it uncovers and unlocks something that you produce. So your sheep produce wool if you have them out there. Your cows produce milk, which in turn can produce cheese during production. You have bread from the bakery, wheat, all the things that you would need to be able to kind of combo things together. So it's got a very Terra Mystica approach to the way that you put things out on the board and group them together in settlements for final scoring, as far as that's concerned. It definitely has some neighboring bonuses. It's also got some how you get across water with the naval. Like the first upgrade can get you across the streams, so you could go here and here. But then you got to get across like the ponds and lakes for the bigger stuff. So if you were here and you had this upgrade of 1, you could also spread out there. Over here, you've got each round of the 5 rounds has a bonus scoring situation that will be randomized each time you play. And so, if you get the upgrade, however many upgrades you get bonus points in the first round, that sort of thing. Then you've got these export contracts that are out here. These are cool because if you grab one, let's say we grab this one, and it comes down here, and this is the one that you're trying to fulfill. So if you can fulfill it, you would need 2 wool, a cheese, and a whiskey. If you do that, you're going to get the $10, a hops, and 3 sugarcane. Those are all available to score at the end of the game, and it's based off of the hops. They just score points, right? Just 1 per. But he has a cool little rarity system that I want to show you. So you've got the tobacco, the cotton, and the sugarcane. And so, like on that one, it's 3 sugarcane. So if you completed that, that would go to 3. And so every time you make it past one of these markers, you're going to get $1. But at the end of the game, whatever, let's just say it ends like that's on 10, this is on 8, and this is on 4. So cotton was the most rare item to be imported throughout the game. It's worth 5 victory points for each one of those that you have. Whereas tobacco was in the middle, it's worth 4. And then the sugarcane was the most imported, so it's only worth 3. So you end up having this based off the rarity, what they're going to be worth. So during the game, if you've got a lot of cotton, you probably want it to stay toward the back a little bit. You want to maybe get as close as you can up to the tobacco, but you don't want it to get past the tobacco, then it loses value. So you got a cool little economy situation there that you're working on. Then over here with your merchants, you can take your merchants and you can buy or sell goods that you have. So if you're selling, let's say we had a bunch of dairy and we were trading in our 3 dairy that we had, or 2 dairy that we had, because we sent a merchant here. This would actually, you'd get the money for the value of 5 each, so I would get my 10 gold, but then it would actually move down 2 slots because the market has changed. Now the market's full and the value, it's not as valuable as it was before. As opposed to if I was buying dairy or buying, let's say, whiskey, it would go up to So that's neat, you know. Supply and demand works out really great there. There's also a mechanism for neighboring. So if you neighbor someone who let's say has dairy, you neighbor their cow farm, then you would get a bonus because you guys are neighbors in your buying or your selling based off of that. So, you know, as you deploy, you're going to, on a turn, you have 8 things that you can do. You can trade, you can obtain a contract, you can expand, you can do shipping upgrades, tech upgrades, you can hire a merchant to have more merchants, you can fulfill that export, or you can pass. The pass mechanism is kind of neat. Let's say in the first round, this is set up for a 2-player game. Let's say red was first, white was second. If white passed first, they would drop down here and they would get a 16 gold bonus. And then they would also be first the next round. And then so they would drop down, that would slide up. There you go. Now you've got who's first and second. And this board flips over. This is the 1 and 2 player mode. It also has solo mode, FYI, so that's pretty cool for all you solo gamers out there. You flip this over and it has the bigger player count, 3 and 4 player. So, yeah, and when you're deploying, so let's look at this. Let's say I wanted to deploy a lumberjack, okay? So it's going to cost 6 gold, and then depending on what terrain I put it on, I also have to pay that too. It also has to be on a terrain that I could possibly go to. Like if I didn't have the upgrade where I could go across here, I could not place here. But if he has to have woods on there, so I couldn't place a lumberjack there. There is no lumber to lumberjack. So let's say I put him here. So it would be $6 for this tile, and this tile is expensive because it has mountains, grassland, and woods on it, so it's pretty valuable piece of land. 6 plus 6 would cost me 12, so I would have to pay $12 into the bank to deploy that person, that worker. But when we produce in the production stage, I'm going to get the left side of this, so I'm going to get $4 and $8. So I'm going to be producing $12 off of that. There's also you can do the tech upgrade. You can pay 10 and flip this over, and now you get the right hand side of this chart on the production. So I'll be producing $18 for my 2 lumberjacks as opposed to 12. Pretty neat. So I only need a couple rounds to make that money up and then be making money. There's also some bonuses that you can get when you do your exporting. So like, for instance, this export contract would give you 2 reduced tech upgrades. And so instead of it costing 10, it would only cost 5. Very neat how all this stuff kind of plans together. So, you know, here I might put out a sheep into the pasture, really cheap, only cost me 9. Now I'm producing a wool. Well, if I can get my cow out here also, so now I've got a nice little settlement going there. I've got some dairy coming in. I've got some wool. If you ever need, you'll see some of these, I don't have one out, but they'll have meat on them. You might need to slaughter a cow or a sheep to get a steak or mutton to fulfill an export. You actually will just pull it off the board, put it back on your deal, and that has been that would fulfill that part of the export contract. So, you know, players are going to be vying for the different areas out here. There's also some port bonuses that you can get that have some pretty neat little effects on them. It's a really well put together game. It looks gorgeous. It's the same, if you think it looks familiar, it's because it's the same artist who did Clemens Franz, who did Isle of Skye and some of the other Euro games that everybody's familiar with. And so looks good. It's obviously, it's ready to go. That's one thing I think as far as it being a Kickstarter, you don't have to worry. I know this is Juma's first game from Karma Games. I know he's designed other games, but this is his first self-published game. But this thing's ready. There's nothing for him to really else to have to work on here. So you can probably back with confidence that this is going to be in your hands pretty soon and ready to go. I know I did. I think one of the other things I really like a lot is it has different starting tiles that you can draw, and then the 8 clans all have a different set of starting powers. So Clan Stewart starts with 3 extra merchants, so they have 5 in the bank right from the start. And they start with a plus on the nautical. So right out of the gate, you can go ahead and put stuff across the rivers right here. You can expand across the rivers. And then they also get a bonus to their purchasing and their selling. So that's going to give you a lot of replayability with the asymmetrical setups. He also has variants in there if you like more of a sandbox feel, so you can do that instead if you prefer to have everybody be on the same playing field and you don't like that. This player over here, because normally you can only have one export contract and you can't get, there's no way to get rid of them. You have to fulfill them if you want to get rid of it. And so Clan Buchanan here, they can have two and be working on two at the same time. That's their big status upgrade. So pretty neat. You know, you're going to try to score points, typical. Go around the track, get as many points as you can, play it over 5 rounds. A lot of little things going on. The scoring at the end, very similar to Terra Mystica. You're doing the different settlements that gives you a multiplier on the tile out here. Then you've got all the points that you've scored throughout the game. So Clans of Caledonia, it's 1 to 4 players. It says 30 minutes per player. I think that would be pretty accurate. And so, yeah, it's a great looking game. You should check it out. All right, guys. Talk to you next time.